Naomi Carter had learned long ago that invisibility was a survival skill. In the sprawling estate of Dante Moretti, one of Chicago's most powerful men, she moved through marble hallways like a ghost, cleaning rooms that cost more than most houses, touching possessions worth more than she would earn in 10 lifetimes, and never, ever making eye contact with the man who owned it all. For 6 months, the job had been perfect. The pay was extraordinary, nearly 3 times what she had made at her previous cleaning positions. The work was demanding but straightforward. She arrived at 6 in the morning, cleaned the massive penthouse and estate office, and left by 2 in the afternoon before Mr. Moretti typically returned from wherever men like him conducted their business. She had seen him exactly 4 times in 6 months. Twice in passing, when he had arrived home early and she had pressed herself against the wall as he walked by with men in expensive suits, their conversations stopping the moment they noticed her presence. Once when she had been cleaning his study and he had entered unexpectedly, his dark eyes sweeping over her with an intensity that had made her hands shake as she gathered her supplies and hurried out. And once at a distance through the floor-to-ceiling windows as he stood on his private terrace overlooking the city, a phone pressed to his ear, his posture radiating the kind of controlled power that made even silence feel dangerous. He was younger than she had expected when she had first taken the job. Perhaps 35, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers, all sharp angles and darker than midnight eyes that seemed to see through every lie you had ever told. His suits probably cost more than her car. His watch definitely did. And the way his security team moved around him, the deference shown by everyone from his driver to his lawyer, made it clear that Dante Moretti was not simply rich. He was powerful in ways that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with the kind of influence that could make problems disappear, which was exactly why Naomi had spent 6 months making absolutely certain he never noticed her. She knew what men like Dante Moretti were. She had spent 3 years of her life learning that lesson the hard way, and she had the scars, both visible and invisible, to prove it. But on a cold Tuesday morning in November, as Naomi used her keycard to enter the service entrance of the Moretti estate, she found someone waiting for her in the staff break room. A man she had spent 2 years running from. A man whose face still appeared in her nightmares. A man who, according to the restraining order she had filed in Atlanta, was supposed to be nowhere near her. Marcus Webb sat at the small table where the household staff took their breaks, looking exactly as she remembered. Handsome in that calculated way that had first attracted her, well-dressed enough to blend in anywhere, and smiling with the same charming expression that had hidden his true nature until it was too late to escape without losing everything. "Hello, Naomi." Or should I say, Alicia? The name he used made her blood run cold. Alicia Morrison. The identity she had buried 2 years ago when she had fled Atlanta with nothing but a hastily packed bag and $300 in cash. The name attached to the life she had destroyed in order to survive. Her hand tightened on her cleaning supply bag. "How did you find me? Was not that difficult once I knew what to look for? You changed your hair, lost some weight, started using your middle name instead of your first, but you kept the same profession, same work schedule, same habit of choosing the wealthiest employers you could find. I have been watching you for 3 weeks, Naomi, waiting for the right moment to have this conversation. We have nothing to talk about. The restraining order is still active. You are violating it just by being here." Marcus laughed, the sound sending ice down her spine. "A piece of paper filed in Georgia has no power in Illinois. And besides, I am not here to cause trouble. I am here to offer you an opportunity. Get out, before I call the police." He leaned back in his chair, utterly relaxed. "And tell them what? That your ex-boyfriend tracked you down? That you are working under a false identity? That you are violating the terms of your probation by leaving the state?" The panic that gripped her chest was familiar, the same suffocating sensation she had felt 2 years ago when Marcus had systematically dismantled every aspect of her life, isolating her from friends, controlling her finances, monitoring her every movement until she had realized the charming man she had fallen in love with was actually a monster wearing a human face. "What do you want?" "Money, of course. Your employer is Dante Moretti, the Dante Moretti." "I have done my research, Naomi. The man is worth hundreds of millions. He has art in this house that museums would kill for. He has a private vault that probably contains enough cash and valuables to fund a small country, and you have access to all of it." Her stomach dropped. "I am not stealing from Mr. Moretti. You do not understand what you are asking. I understand perfectly. You are going to help me rob your employer, or I'm going to destroy the life you have built here just like you destroyed mine when you left." Her voice came out barely above a whisper, I destroyed your life? You put me in the hospital, Marcus, twice. You were unstable, emotional. You made me do things I did not want to do. The gaslighting was so familiar it almost did not hurt anymore. Almost. You need to leave. Now. I will leave. For now. But I will be back tomorrow with very specific instructions about what I need you to do. You have until then to decide whether you want to cooperate or whether you want your new employer to learn that the woman cleaning his house is actually a fugitive with a criminal record who has been using a false identity to gain access to his home. Wait, what criminal record? Marcus smiled. The one you are going to have when I report to the Atlanta police that you stole $50,000 worth of jewelry before you left? I kept pieces of your hair, your fingerprints on items I preserved. It will be your word against mine, and I have evidence while you have nothing but a history of mental instability and a restraining order that you violated by not reporting your change of address. The room was spinning. This could not be happening. Not after everything she had done to escape. Not after 2 years of rebuilding herself from nothing. I will come back tomorrow at the same time. Be here, or I start making phone calls. He stood, buttoning his jacket with the casual confidence of a man who had just checkmated his opponent. It is good to see you again, Alicia. I have missed you. He walked out, leaving Naomi shaking so hard she had to grip the edge of the table to stay standing. The panic attack that followed was brutal. Her chest constricted. Black spots danced in her vision. Air became impossible to draw into her lungs. She slid to the floor, pressing her back against the wall, trying desperately to remember the breathing exercises her therapist had taught her. 4 counts in, hold for 4, 6 counts out. But the terror was too overwhelming. Marcus had found her, after 2 years of careful hiding, of building a new identity, of finally starting to feel safe. He had tracked her down. And this time, he was not just threatening her. He was threatening to destroy her completely. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her freeze. She could not let anyone see her like this, could not afford questions, could not risk attention. She forced herself to stand, to grab her cleaning supplies, to make her shaking hands look busy organizing the products she did not actually need to organize. The door opened. Dante Moretti stood in the entrance, his dark eyes taking in the scene with an intensity that made her feel transparent. He was dressed in another perfectly tailored suit, this one charcoal gray with a black shirt underneath, no tie. His hair was styled back from his face, emphasizing the sharp angles of his jaw, and his expression as always was unreadable. Miss Carter? His voice was deep with the faintest trace of an Italian accent that became more pronounced on certain words. I was not aware you had arrived. I just got here, sir. I was organizing supplies before starting the cleaning. She hated how her voice shook, hated the weakness it revealed. His eyes narrowed slightly. Are you unwell? You are trembling. I am fine, just cold. The lie was transparent, but he did not challenge it. Instead, he studied her with the same intense focus she had seen him direct at business documents and phone calls with people who seemed to fear disappointing him. I will be working from the study today. You may clean the rest of the penthouse, but leave the study for last. I will notify you when I have finished. Yes, sir? He turned to leave, then paused. His hand was still on the door handle when he spoke again without looking at her. If something is wrong, Miss Carter, you should say so. I do not tolerate problems in my home, but I also do not tolerate threats against my staff. The implication hung in the air. Somehow, in the space of 30 seconds, this man who barely knew she existed had sensed that something was deeply wrong. There is nothing wrong, sir. Thank you for your concern. He left without another word, but Naomi had the distinct impression that he did not believe her. She spent the rest of the morning cleaning in a fog of terror. Her hands moved automatically through tasks she had performed hundreds of times, but her mind was racing through impossible scenarios. She could not steal from Dante Moretti. The man was connected to people and organizations that made Marcus look like a playground bully. She had heard whispers from the other staff, careful conversations that stopped the moment she entered a room. Rumors about the true source of the Moretti family wealth. About business dealings that had nothing to do with the legitimate corporations and real estate holdings that were publicly acknowledged. But she also could not let Marcus destroy her. The life she had built in Chicago was modest, but it was hers. The small apartment in a safe neighborhood, the evenings spent reading or taking walks along the lake, the slow, careful process of learning to trust herself again after years of being told she was worthless, crazy, incapable of making good decisions. By the time she reached the study at 1 in the afternoon, she had worked herself into such a state of anxious desperation that she could barely think straight. She knocked on the heavy wooden door, waiting for permission to enter. "Come in." Dante Moretti sat behind a massive desk that looked like it belonged in a museum, papers spread before him, a laptop open, and a phone within easy reach. He glanced up as she entered, his expression as unreadable as ever. "I need approximately 20 more minutes to finish this work. You may wait or return later. I can return later, sir." She started to leave when his voice stopped her. "Actually, Miss Carter, I would prefer if you stayed. I have some questions." Her heart stopped. He knew. Somehow, he knew about Marcus, about her fake identity, about everything. "Sir?" "Close the door and sit down." The command was delivered in a tone that made it clear refusal was not an option. Naomi closed the door with shaking hands and sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk, her cleaning supplies still clutched in her lap like a shield. Dante set down the pen he had been holding and gave her his full attention. The weight of his gaze was almost physical. "You have worked for me for 6 months, is that correct?" "Yes, sir. And in those 6 months, your performance has been exemplary. The house manager has nothing but positive reports. You arrive early, complete your work efficiently, and never require supervision." "Thank you, sir." "So when I arrived this morning and found you in the staff room, clearly in distress, trembling badly enough that you could barely stand, I became concerned. Nothing is wrong. I apologize if I gave that impression. Do not lie to me, Miss Carter. I have very little patience for deception." His voice had not changed in volume, but something in his tone made her blood run cold. "Someone was in my home this morning. A man who does not belong here. My security footage shows him entering through the service entrance approximately 10 minutes before you arrived. He waited in the staff room. You spoke with him. Then he left, and you had what appeared to be a panic attack." "Oh, God." "He had cameras." "Of course he had cameras. Men like Dante Moretti did not leave their security to chance." "I can explain. Please do." He leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed, but his eyes never left her face. "And understand that I already know more than you might think. So any lies you tell will only make this conversation more difficult." The tears she had been fighting all morning finally spilled over. She was so tired of running, so tired of lying, so tired of pretending that she was not one disaster away from losing everything. The story came out in broken pieces. Marcus. The relationship that had turned abusive, the 2 years of control and manipulation, the restraining order, fleeing Atlanta, creating a new identity, the desperate attempt to start over. And now, this morning, the ultimatum. Steal from Dante Moretti or watch her new life get destroyed. She expected anger, expected to be fired immediately, expected to be handed over to the police for using false documents. What she did not expect was the absolute stillness that came over Dante Moretti as she spoke. His expression did not change, his posture did not shift. But something in his eyes transformed from casual interest to focused calculation. When she finished, her voice hoarse from crying, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached for his phone and made a call. "Marco. I need a complete background check on a Marcus Webb from Atlanta, Georgia. Everything. Criminal history, financial records, current location, known associates. I need it in 2 hours." He hung up and returned his attention to Naomi. "First, you will stop crying. Panic and tears accomplish nothing. Second, you will tell me exactly what this man demanded you steal. Third, you will understand that the situation has now changed significantly. I do not understand." "Of course you do not." "But you will." His tone was matter-of-fact, almost cold. "You work in my home, Miss Carter. You are under my protection whether you realized it or not. Someone threatening you is the same as someone threatening my household. That is not acceptable. But I lied to you. I used a fake identity. I should be fired. Probably. But we can address your employment status after we deal with the immediate problem." "What did Marcus Webb instruct you to steal?" She told him. The list Marcus had sent via text message while she had been cleaning the second floor. Specific pieces from Dante's private collection, rare artwork, documents from his office safe, access codes to his security system. It was insane. Impossible. And clearly planned by someone who knew exactly what they were looking for. Dante's expression grew darker with each item she listed. When she finished, he was very still. This is not the work of your ex-boyfriend acting alone. These items, this information, this level of detail about my private holdings suggests Marcus Webb is working with someone who has significant knowledge of my business and personal affairs. He stood, walking to the windows overlooking his private garden. Someone is using your ex-boyfriend to get to me. You are simply the tool they found convenient. What do you mean? Think, Miss Carter. Your ex-boyfriend appears after 2 years and immediately knows not just where you work, but what your employer owns, where it is kept, and how to access it. That requires inside information. Someone gave him the details and sent him to pressure you. The question is who? Naomi felt sick. She had been so focused on Marcus, on her own terror, that she had not considered the larger implications. So what happens now? Now you are going to do exactly what Marcus Webb instructed. Except the items you steal will be replacements. Fakes I will have prepared. He will take them, attempt to sell or deliver them to whoever hired him, and when he does, my people will be watching. We will identify his employer, address the threat, and resolve your problem permanently. I cannot do this. I cannot pretend to steal from you. I cannot face Marcus again. The panic was rising. You can and you will, because the alternative is allowing this threat to continue, and I do not permit threats to persist once I become aware of them. His voice was calm, but absolutely certain. Consider this your new employment contract, Miss Carter. You will assist in catching whoever is targeting me. In exchange, I will ensure your ex-boyfriend never bothers you again and help you establish a legal identity that cannot be challenged. Why would you do this for me? Because you have been cleaning my home for 6 months, and in that time, you have never stolen so much as a paperclip despite having access to items worth millions. Because your loyalty, even when terrified and threatened, was to refuse rather than betray me. And because I protect what is mine, Miss Carter. That includes my staff. The certainty in his voice should not have been comforting. This man was dangerous. He operated in a world she wanted nothing to do with, but in that moment, with her life falling apart and Marcus Webb circling like a predator, Dante Moretti's cold calculation felt safer than anything she had known in years. What do I need to do? First, you go home. Rest. Tomorrow morning, Marcus Webb will return. You will agree to his demands. I will provide you with the fake items. You will hand them over and continue as instructed. My security team will handle the rest. Second, you will pack your things and move into the guest suite here. What? Why? Because if Webb has been watching you for 3 weeks, he knows where you live. That is no longer safe. You will stay here where you are protected until this situation is resolved. I cannot impose on you like that. You misunderstand, Miss Carter. This is not a request. Pack your things. The command was delivered with the same absolute authority he had used throughout the conversation, and despite every instinct screaming at her to refuse, to run, to maintain her independence, Naomi found herself nodding. Yes, sir. Good. Marco will drive you home and assist with your belongings. You will return within 2 hours. He paused, his expression softening almost imperceptibly. And Miss Carter? You are safe now. I give you my word. That evening, Naomi found herself in a guest suite that was larger than her entire apartment, sitting on a bed that probably cost more than her car, trying to process how her life had transformed in a single day. Dante Moretti had assigned 2 security guards to escort her home. They had waited while she packed her meager belongings, their presence a silent deterrent to anyone who might be watching. They had driven her back to the estate in a vehicle with bulletproof windows and doors, and they had delivered her to Sophia, the house manager, who had shown her to the guest suite without a single question about why the cleaning lady was suddenly living in accommodations normally reserved for Dante's high-profile visitors. A knock on her door at 7 in the evening made her tense. Come in. Dante entered, changed from his business suit into dark slacks and a casual button-down shirt that should have made him look relaxed but somehow only emphasized his natural authority. He was carrying a leather folder. We need to discuss tomorrow. He sat in the chair near the window, gesturing for her to sit across from him. Your ex-boyfriend will arrive at 6 in the morning. You will meet him in the staff room as before. These are the items you will give him. He opened the folder, showing her photographs of artwork, documents, and small objects that looked identical to the pieces Marcus had demanded. These are fakes? Museum-quality reproductions. Good enough to pass initial inspection, but traceable. Each item has been marked with invisible ink that can be detected under ultraviolet light. When Webb attempts to sell or deliver these items, we will know. What if he realizes they are fake? He will not. And even if he did, the people he is working with will not tell him. They need him to believe he has succeeded. The setup was more sophisticated than anything Naomi had imagined. You have done this before, dealt with people trying to rob you. Many times. Wealth attracts parasites, Miss Carter. The key is recognizing them before they cause real damage. You could have just fired me, reported me to the police for identity fraud, let Marcus take his fake evidence to Atlanta and wash your hands of the entire problem. I could have, but that would have left you vulnerable, and as I said, I protect what is mine. I am not yours. I am just an employee. For now. His eyes met hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. But you are living under my roof, accepting my protection, and participating in an operation to catch people who threaten my household. That makes you mine, Miss Carter, whether you realize it or not. The possessive phrasing should have terrified her. After Marcus, after years of being controlled and manipulated, she should have run from any man who spoke about ownership. But there was a fundamental difference. Dante Moretti was offering protection, not control. Safety, not imprisonment. And the way he looked at her held none of the calculated charm that had hidden Marcus's true nature. Just honest, straightforward acknowledgement of reality. Tomorrow morning, you will be afraid. That is natural. But remember that my people will be watching. Webb will never be alone with you. The moment he has the items and leaves, you are finished with him forever. And if he tries to hurt you? Dante's expression grew cold. Then he will learn why people do not threaten what belongs to me. That night, Naomi barely slept. She lay in the enormous bed, staring at the ceiling, playing tomorrow's confrontation through her mind 1,000 different ways. What if Marcus sensed the trap? What if he hurt her before Dante's security could intervene? What if this entire plan was just another man using her for his own purposes? But when dawn came and she made her way down to the staff room at 5:45, she found Dante already waiting. He was dressed for business, his suit immaculate, his expression focused. The leather folder containing the fake items sat on the table between them. Ready? No. Good. Fear will make your performance more convincing. Remember, you are a terrified woman who has been backed into an impossible corner. You do not need to act. Just be yourself. That is not reassuring. It is not meant to be. It is meant to be true. His phone buzzed. Webb just entered the parking garage. He will be here in 90 seconds. I will be in the next room. Marco and 2 others are positioned in the hallway. You are not alone. Then he did something that surprised her. He reached out and took her hand, his grip warm and steady. Breathe, Naomi. This will be over soon. The use of her first name, the first time he had spoken it, steadied her more than any reassurance. She nodded, pulling her hand back as footsteps approached in the hallway. Dante disappeared through the connecting door just as Marcus walked in. He looked pleased with himself, confident that she would comply. I was not sure you would show. Did you really think you had a choice? The bitterness in her voice was not feigned. What did you bring me? Naomi pushed the leather folder across the table. Everything you asked for. The artwork reproductions, the documents, the access codes. Marcus opened the folder, examining the contents with growing satisfaction. You did good, Alicia. This is going to make us both very rich. I am not getting rich from this. You are stealing. I am just trying to survive. Semantics. He closed the folder, tucking it under his arm. I will need you to do this again. Next week, there are more items my employers want. Your employers? Who exactly are you working for, Marcus? That is not your concern. Your concern is doing what you are told so I do not destroy you. The threat hung in the air. Naomi forced herself to look afraid. It was not difficult. I cannot do this again. Once was already too much. You will do what I tell you, when I tell you, for as long as I require it. We are not negotiating, Alicia. We never were. This is how your life works now. You belong to me. Had you forgotten? The words were so familiar, the same phrases he had used in Atlanta, the same controlling rhetoric that had slowly dismantled her sense of self over 3 years. But this time, she was not alone. This time, someone was listening. This time, Marcus Webb had made the mistake of threatening someone under Dante Moretti's protection. I have not forgotten anything. Good. Then we understand each other. I will contact you next week with new instructions. And Alicia, do not even think about running again. I will find you. I always do." He left, the door closing behind him with a soft click that sounded like a prison door locking. Naomi sat frozen, her heart pounding, until Dante emerged from the connecting room. His expression was darker than she had ever seen it. "That man is never going to touch you again. Do you understand me? Never." The absolute certainty in his voice cut through her panic. Marco appeared in the doorway, phone in hand. "He is heading to a car 3 blocks south. We have 2 vehicles following. The tracker on the folder is transmitting perfectly." Dante nodded. "Do not lose him. I want to know where he goes, who he meets, and who gave him the shopping list. Within 48 hours, I want every person involved in this identified." "Yes, sir." Dante turned back to Naomi. "Go to your suite. Rest. Sophia will bring you breakfast. You have done what was needed. Now let me handle the rest. I want to help. You have helped. Your role in this is finished." The command was absolute, but his next words were softer. "I know you want justice, Naomi. You will have it. I promise you. Trust me." She did. Against every instinct screaming that trusting powerful men led to disaster, she trusted Dante Moretti, because unlike Marcus, unlike every other man who had made promises, Dante had already proven that his word meant something. The next 36 hours passed in a strange suspension. Naomi stayed in the guest suite, venturing out only for meals that Sophia brought to her room. Dante was gone most of the time, returning late at night and leaving before dawn. But each evening he came to her room to update her on the investigation. Marcus had delivered the fake items to a warehouse on the south side. The warehouse was owned by a shell corporation that traced back to the Romano family, one of Chicago's other major organized crime syndicates. The Romano family had been trying to undermine the Moretti operations for years. They had specifically targeted Naomi because her background made her vulnerable, and they had used Marcus as a convenient tool to pressure her into becoming their thief. On the 3rd day, Dante arrived at her suite at 2 p.m, his expression grim but satisfied. "It is finished." "What do you mean?" "I mean the Romano family has been dealt with. Their warehouse was raided by federal agents this morning. The evidence found inside, including the items you provided, has led to multiple arrests. Marcus Webb is in custody, facing charges of extortion, theft, and conspiracy." Her legs went weak. She sat down hard on the edge of the bed. "He is really arrested? Really going to prison? He will spend at least 15 years in federal prison, possibly more if additional charges are added. And the restraining order violations, the threats, the identity theft he committed to frame you in Atlanta, all of that is being documented. He's never going to hurt anyone again." The relief was so overwhelming she started crying. Dante crossed the room, sitting beside her on the bed, his presence solid and reassuring. "You are safe, Naomi. Completely safe. The Romano family is no longer a threat. Marcus Webb is locked up. And I have had my lawyers establish a legal identity for you. Naomi Carter is now your official name. No more hiding, no more fake documents. You are free. How can I ever thank you?" His hand lifted, fingers gently wiping tears from her cheek. "You already have. You remained loyal when you could have betrayed me. You trusted me when you had every reason not to, and you survived something that would have destroyed most people." The touch sent electricity through her. This man who controlled an empire, who had dismantled his enemies with terrifying efficiency, was touching her with a gentleness that made her heart ache. "What happens now? Now you decide what you want. You can return to your apartment. I will ensure you have the best security available. You can continue working here as before. Or—" he paused, his dark eyes searching hers. "Or you can stay here. Not as an employee. As someone under my protection. As someone I care about." Her breath caught. "Why would you care about me? I am just your maid." "You were never just my maid, Naomi. From the moment you started working here, I noticed you. The way you moved, through my home with such care. The way you never asked for anything. The way you made yourself invisible because you believed that was the only way to be safe. I noticed, and I wondered what had hurt you badly enough to make you hide so completely. You barely spoke to me in 6 months. Because I was waiting to see if you would relax, waiting for the right moment to approach you, waiting for you to feel safe enough to let someone in. And then Marcus Webb appeared, and I realized that waiting was a luxury you did not have. So I did what I should have done months ago. I protected you. The confession should have terrified her. This powerful, dangerous man admitting he had been watching her, waiting for her. But instead of fear, she felt something else entirely. Something that had been dead inside her for so long, she had forgotten what it felt like. Hope. I do not know how to do this. How to trust someone again. How to let someone close without being terrified they will hurt me. Then we will take it slowly, one day at a time. No pressure, no demands, just the knowledge that you are safe here, and I will never let anyone hurt you again. His thumb traced her cheekbone, the touch sending shivers down her spine. I am not Marcus Webb, Naomi. I will never control you, never manipulate you, never make you feel like you are anything less than valuable. What I will do is protect you, provide for you, and, if you allow it, care for you in ways you deserve. What if I am not ready? Then you are not ready. I can wait. I have been patient for 6 months. I can be patient for as long as it takes. But know this, from the moment you walked into my home, you were mine to protect. That has not changed and never will. The possessive phrasing was the same as before, but now she understood what it meant. Not ownership, not control, protection, safety, the promise that she would never face danger alone again. She leaned into his touch, letting herself feel the warmth of his hand against her skin. Can I stay here tonight? In the guest suite? You can stay here for as long as you want. This is your home now, Naomi. For as long as you need it to be. She nodded, tears streaming down her face again, but this time they were not tears of fear. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of the overwhelming emotion that came from realizing that after years of running, hiding, and surviving, she had finally found someone who saw her not as a victim to be used, but as a person worthy of protection. Dante stayed with her that evening, sitting in the chair by the window while she curled up on the bed, talking about nothing and everything. His business, her dreams of going back to school, his childhood in Sicily, her memories of her mother. The conversation flowed easily, naturally, building a connection that had been impossible when she had been hiding who she really was. As night fell, he stood to leave. Rest, Naomi. Tomorrow, we will discuss your future, whether you want to continue working here in a different capacity, whether you want to pursue education, whatever you choose. But tonight, just rest, knowing you are safe. He paused at the door, looking back at her with an expression that was equal parts tender and possessive. And remember, you are mine now. That means I will move heaven and earth to ensure your happiness. Sleep well, Bella. The door closed softly behind him, leaving Naomi alone with her thoughts. She should have been terrified, should have been planning her escape from another controlling man. But Dante Moretti was not Marcus Webb. He had proven that in every action. He had protected her when he could have abandoned her. He had given her choices when he could have issued commands. He had waited for her consent when he could have simply taken what he wanted. And as she drifted off to sleep in the enormous bed, in the guest suite of a Mafia boss's estate, Naomi realized that for the first time in years, she felt safe. Truly, completely safe. 3 weeks passed in a strange new reality. Dante had meant what he said about no pressure. She continued living in the guest suite, but she no longer cleaned his home. Instead, he had offered her a position as his personal assistant, handling his legitimate business correspondence and scheduling. The work was challenging but fascinating, giving her insight into the complex empire he had built. They shared breakfast most mornings when his schedule allowed, dinners several times a week, long conversations in his study about everything from architecture to philosophy. He introduced her to his mother, Maria, who visited from Sicily and immediately took Naomi under her wing, teaching her Italian phrases and insisting that any woman important enough to live in her son's home was important enough to learn their family language. He bought her clothes that actually fit, in colors that made her dark skin glow. He arranged for her to meet with his lawyers about pursuing the degree she had abandoned in Atlanta. He hired a therapist specializing in domestic abuse survivors, ensuring she had professional support to heal from years of trauma. And through it all, he never once asked for anything in return. The walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. She found herself watching him during business calls, admiring the sharp intelligence in his eyes. She caught herself smiling at his dry humor, delivered with perfect timing. She noticed the way his security team respected him not just through fear, but through genuine loyalty. And she started to understand that Dante Moretti, despite his dangerous reputation, was a man of profound honor. The shift happened on a cold December evening. She had been living at the estate for nearly 2 months. Dante had been working late in his study, reviewing contracts for a new real estate development. She had brought him coffee around 10 in the evening, intending to say good night and return to her suite. But when she entered the study, she found him standing at the window, his posture tense, his expression troubled. "Is everything all right?" He turned, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. "No, Naomi, everything is not all right." "What is wrong? Did something happen?" "Something has been happening for months, and I am reaching the limit of my patience." He crossed the room, stopping just in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "I told you I could wait. That I would give you time. That there would be no pressure. And I have kept that promise. But I need you to understand something." "What?" "Every day you are in this house, every meal we share, every conversation, every moment I watch you smile or laugh, or simply exist in my space, makes it harder to maintain the distance I promised you. I am not a patient man by nature, Naomi. I am controlling, possessive, and accustomed to taking what I want. The only reason I have not already claimed you is because you deserve better than my base instincts." Her heart was pounding. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that I am in love with you. Completely, irrevocably in love with you. And if you do not feel the same, you need to tell me now so I can find a way to live with that reality. But if there is any chance, any possibility that you might come to care for me, I need to know, because this limbo is torture." The confession hung in the air between them. The most powerful man she had ever known, admitting vulnerability, admitting that he was the one waiting, hoping, desperate for her to let him in. "I am afraid." "Of what?" "Of making another mistake. Of trusting the wrong person. Of ending up broken again." Dante's hand lifted, cupping her cheek with infinite gentleness. "I am not him, Naomi. I will never be him. What I feel for you is not about control. It is about partnership. I want to build something with you. Something real. Something that makes us both stronger. But only if you want it too." She searched his eyes, looking for any hint of deception, any shadow of the manipulation she had learned to recognize. But all she saw was honesty. Raw, vulnerable honesty from a man who was not accustomed to being vulnerable. "I think I am falling in love with you too. And that terrifies me more than anything Marcus ever did. Because with you, I have something real to lose. Then let me prove to you that you will not lose it. Let me show you what it means to be cherished, protected, and loved by someone who sees your value. Give me a chance, Bella. Just one chance." The kiss started tentatively, his lips brushing hers with a softness that made her ache. But when she leaned into him, when her hands came up to grip his shirt, the kiss deepened. Years of loneliness and fear melted away in the warmth of his embrace. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her against him. And for the first time since Marcus, she felt safe enough to let herself be vulnerable. When they finally broke apart, both, breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I am going to take care of you for the rest of your life. Do you understand that? Not because you need taking care of, but because I need to be the man who protects your happiness." "I know, and that is exactly why I trust you." That night, Naomi did not return to the guest suite. She stayed with Dante, wrapped in his arms, talking until dawn about their past, their fears, their dreams for a future they would build together. He told her about the darkness in his world, the choices he had made that could never be unmade, the enemies who would always exist. She told him about the scars Marcus had left, the triggers she still struggled with, the work she still needed to do to fully heal. And through it all, they held each other, two damaged people finding wholeness in the spaces between their broken pieces. In the morning, Sophia found them asleep in Dante's bed, Naomi's head resting on his chest, his arms locked around her even in sleep. The house manager smiled, quietly closing the door, and made a mental note to move Naomi's belongings to the master suite. It seemed the boss had finally found what he had been searching for. 6 months later, Naomi stood in the garden behind the Moretti estate, wearing a dress that had been custom-made in Italy, surrounded by flowers that had been flown in from Sicily, listening to Dante's mother explain the traditions of a proper Italian wedding. The ceremony would be small, intimate, just family and close friends. But the commitment would be absolute. Forever. No escape clauses, no backup plans. Just two people choosing to build a life together despite the odds. "You are certain about this?" Maria asked, her accent thick with emotion. "You understand what it means to marry my son? To become part of our family?" "I understand. And I have never been more certain of anything in my life." Naomi looked across the garden where Dante was talking with Marco and his other security personnel. He caught her eye and smiled, the expression transforming his usually severe face into something beautiful. He is not an easy man, not simple, not safe, but he is yours, completely yours, and he will protect you with everything he has. I know. That is why I am marrying him. Maria kissed her cheek. Welcome to the family, Naomi Moretti. May you be as happy as you deserve. The wedding was perfect. Simple vows spoken in both English and Italian. Promises made not just to each other, but to the future they would create. And when Dante slid the ring onto her finger, a platinum band engraved with Italian words that meant beloved and protected, Naomi felt the last pieces of her broken heart click into place. You are mine now, he whispered against her lips. Forever. And I am yours. Forever. They sealed the promise with a kiss that held years of pain, months of healing, and the absolute certainty that they had both found exactly what they needed in the most unexpected place. 2 years. Later, Naomi Moretti stood in the nursery of the Moretti estate, holding her daughter Isabella, while Dante watched from the doorway. His expression was soft in a way that few people ever saw, the dangerous Mafia boss transformed into a devoted father. She is perfect, he said, crossing the room to wrap his arms around both of them. Just like her mother. She has your eyes. And your mother's stubbornness. Naomi laughed. That is going to be interesting when she is older. We will manage. We always do. He pressed a kiss to her temple, then to their daughter's forehead. Together. The word held all the promises they had made, all the challenges they had overcome, all the love they had built from the ashes of their broken pasts. Naomi thought about the terrified woman she had been 2 years ago, the woman who had believed safety meant invisibility, the woman who had thought she would spend her life running from her past. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger, braver, more complete. Because she had learned that sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the most transformative, and sometimes the man who seems like a threat is actually the hero you have been waiting for all along. Later that evening, after Isabella was asleep and they were alone in their bedroom, Dante pulled Naomi into his arms. Do you ever regret it? Taking the risk? Trusting me? Never. Not even for a moment. Good. Because I intend to spend the rest of my life proving that your trust was not misplaced. You already have. Every single day. He kissed her then, slow and deep, a kiss that held 2 years of love and a lifetime of promises yet to be kept. And as Naomi melted into his embrace, she thought about the title of her story. The moment when Dante Moretti had looked at her, a terrified maid being blackmailed and broken, and commanded with absolute authority, pack your things. 2 words that had changed everything. 2 words that had saved her life. 2 words that had led her from darkness into light, from fear into love, from survival into a life worth living. That is the story of Naomi Carter, the woman who was blackmailed, rescued, and ultimately loved by an Italian mafia boss who proved that protection, when offered by the right person, is not control, but freedom. Her story reminds us that safety can come from unexpected sources, that love can grow in the darkest places, and that sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is exactly the hero you need. Because real love is not about possession. It is about partnership. Not about control, but about choice. And sometimes the person who saves you is the last person you ever expected to trust. If this story moved you and you want to hear more incredible tales of unexpected protection, dangerous romance, and love that transforms broken people into something whole, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We share new stories every week about real people who discovered that heroes come in unexpected forms, and that sometimes the most meaningful relationships begin with the most impossible circumstances. What did you think of Naomi and Dante's story? Have you ever been in a situation where someone unexpected became your protector? Would you have trusted Dante's offer of help? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing how these stories resonate with your own experiences of unexpected kindness, protection, and transformative love. Remember, sometimes the person who saves you is someone you never expected to trust, and sometimes the most dangerous choice leads to the safest love. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next story.